Dan Melnick, Zing IO.
My Zing.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's mine. It's no one else's.
Yeah.
It's Dan Zing.
Yeah.
Not to be confused but with Zin. Dan, let's talk to the audience about what it is your company does specifically for your clients.
Sure. Yeah. So we're an e-commerce agency. So we do meta ads and software development. So building stores on Shopify and BigCommerce, WooCommerce, and then also just running ads like on Meta and bringing that traffic to help get more sales for e-commerce brands.
That's amazing. It's bringing more sales. So who's your ideal client?
So our ideal client are e-commerce brands who are ideally already running meta ads who just need some uh, fire on their gasoline or gasoline like on their fire, as they say, right? It's like anybody who just wants to scale even more, but even people who've never run meta ads before, right? It's something where you can try to figure it out yourself and the guesswork is very difficult, right? So it's better to like hire somebody that knows what they're doing, who've done that before.
Yeah. So at what point in somebody's business would it make sense to hire somebody like your company?
Ideally, if they've already done meta ads, ideally if they're like maybe spending at least 5K a month on ads, then from there we can help them scale. But once again, if they're earlier stage, they probably should have at least 5K a month in total to invest. Because less than that, it's much harder, right? You can start doing ads with like $1,500 a month. That's like the minimum that we would take on. But plus we have our fees. So,
Mm-hmm.
it just depends. But like you really need to be in a position where it makes sense. And on top of that, like in the first month, if you've never run meta ads before, you're going to probably break even, right? So you're not going to go crazy in that first month because the way that Meta's algorithm works,
Yeah.
it takes time to figure out, okay, like what's working, what's not, who are the audiences? Should you go broad? Should you go very specific? It takes a lot of time.
Sure.
So it's like from that standpoint, okay, just be ready. Then that first month, you might spend 1,500 and make back the 1,500, right? And then after that, because like your break even number is probably going to be 1.5, maybe 2. It depends like on your margins, right? So maybe like in the second month, you'll be at a point where you're technically like, all right, I'm breaking even, then beyond 2, 3, 4x ROAS. But it's like making sure that you're in a position where you can afford to like not be as profitable in the very beginning. On top of that, you should be looking at overall growth, right? Because many people will see an ad on Facebook or Instagram and go on Amazon and go and buy the product, right? Which we can't measure true attribution from that sale, but it's all intertwined.
Right. So let's say you're a business owner, because a lot of our audience are business owners. Okay. I was just talking with Dorian Aldava about marketing. Okay. He's not a marketing expert, yet he knows it's super important for any business to get in front of people. Okay. And you're like a full-blown marketing agency in the digital space. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, let's say I've just started a business. And I don't have money.
Right.
Okay. Would you say that it's probably the most important thing to invest in upfront other than your skill set?
If you're starting off, if your budget is very low, don't run meta ads.
Okay.
Because you have to be at a certain point where it makes sense, and it's going to cost you money to figure that out. So I always say, like in the very beginning, it's all about hustle, building that momentum, organic growth, right? Posting content on social media, and then you can do ads. But it's like, as ads, it's like, once again, it's not going to be this perfect solution in the very beginning that you're going to go crazy. And it's like on top of that, you have to figure out PMF, right? Product market fit. Like, where do you fit in the market? What is your unique angle? Because you might think, okay, well, my product has this angle. When you're going with something totally new to market, your customer might come back and tell you something else, right? So it's like, figuring out like, what is your unique selling proposition? Like, why are your customers buying this product, and how does it differentiate from your competition? And if you don't know that, your ads will never work, right? If you're selling something super vague or generic, right, and it's just like everything else, it's going to be very difficult to scale. But if you're selling this supplement, which is different, here's why, here's the ingredients, here's like your unique angle, then that's super scalable, right? Or if it's apparel, like, okay, how is it different? How are people going to feel wearing this apparel, right? Who is your ideal? And like oftentimes people will launch your brand, say, okay, this brand is for, women of this age, 20 to 35. Well, then when they start selling, it's men who are buying, right? It's like things like that where it's like you might think it's one thing, but you really don't know. And if you don't have that data, running ads will be a complete waste of money. But you want to start with some proven concept and some angle, understand, okay, who is my audience?
Yeah.
Right. So if you start like a supplement or a CPG brand, consumer packaged goods, like some sort of food product, go to a farmer's market, go in person, give out samples, talk to people and see if they like it. Make sure that your taste is good. Right. Make sure that that they understand like what is your angle, right? If they don't understand that, you're not going to be successful with ads, right? So it's like that's a super important thing.
Yeah, you've got nothing to sell if you don't have clarity on what you're selling.
Exactly.
So let's say you're a business owner. What I'm hearing you say, if you're just launching a product, is to get that face-to-face feedback,
exactly.
Right? To do your market studies, right? On a low budget or free,
exactly,
if it's possible, scale. Yeah,
right.
Then once you're able to collect enough data, and then once you're driving enough revenue, then it might make sense to leverage that out to expand.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Because you can go to a farmer's market, it's only like $50 or $100.
Yeah.
Right? And it's super cheap. You go up there, obviously you have to pay for like your product and all that, but in terms of your outside costs, it's not super expensive. And all the top brands, many of them have started at farmers markets, like Poppy. Poppy just exited for $2 billion here in Austin, right? And they started back in Dallas. They started at the Dallas Farmers Market. Okay, and that's how they got their feedback, right? And then over there, people were lining up, and a Whole Foods buyer saw them, and that was it, right? So so it's like that instant feedback is super valuable, right? But of course, if you have budget, if you have the ability to test money on ads and go for it, but understand, okay, like it's going to take a lot of testing and figuring out your angle, who your audience is, and if it's going to work or not. So just be mindful of that. And on top of that, right, for example, certain products don't have a repeat order possibility. So your lifetime value is not that high. If you sell, I don't know, like a phone case, people would just buy one probably, right?
Yeah.
So if you would just have one SKU and one phone case and that's it, right? So it's like, understand, okay, if you sell like a supplement, that might make more sense because people will come back and buy it, every month, right? So understanding, what is your product, how are you going to scale, how are you going to hit that lifetime value, is like, what is the actual scalability of this product?
So let's say a client is ready to leverage their marketing efforts through the digital space with someone like yourself. What all do you want from them before you can partner together?
Yeah, so in terms of their website, right, and we can work on this too, making sure it's fully optimized, because if you're running cold traffic to your product page, you want to make sure every single objection is handled right there, right? So it's like FAQs, USP, right? All these questions that people have. Oftentimes what we're seeing now is guarantees, right? Say, okay, 60-day money back guarantee or 30-day. Most people are not going to send it back.
Nope.
But it's like an assurance that they can, because they've never heard of you, they don't know you, then they don't trust you. But if they see your product, okay, it's a guarantee, fine. Let me try it out, right?
Yeah.
And all the FAQs, because that way it's going to minimize friction. You're going to get less emails, customer service emails, like having all those questions answered right there. So making sure that your website is fully optimized.
Right.
Besides that, having raw footage, right? So videos, photos, and we have partners for that too, which we can help get that content. We can do the creative and edit the photos and do the copy and all that. But we need to have that raw, content to actually do, good ads per se.
How do you get the raw content?
So we have like a partner company called ComQuest that we partner with them, and they're based in California.
Oh.
So you can send them product and they can record videos. That's one way. But oftentimes, many of our clients do their own content. So they partner with influencers or, niche customers per se and say, hey, listen, like we'll send you like some free products, or if you're already buying product, can you go and record some content? And we'll kind of guide them. So certain things that are working right now are that UGC content, right? Like authentic customer content. Like the influencer stuff, it works okay. It depends on the influencer and how trusted they are. Like if they're like a massive influencer with a very like trustworthy following, fine. But many people like are plugging all these products, and and people follow them for a different reason. They're not following them to get their product recommendation. But if they're influencers, let's just say if they're mom influencers like in the health space, that could be a good fit if you're selling like this, like healthy supplement, right? So it's really just like understanding. It's like, okay, like, what is your product? Who are you targeting? And that's the best way to get content.
Yeah, and based off what you're saying, it sounds like you've got a strong grasp of marketing in general.
Right.
Right? Yeah, you do. Yeah. Right? Okay. That's pretty cool, by the way. Yeah. So on somebody's entrepreneurial journey, okay, what would you say an appropriate step-by-step sequence would be to follow? Starting off with the face-to-face feedback, right? You're going out there, you're bootstrapping, so to speak. Right. Then what would be an appropriate next step, right? Like, is it then you go to e-commerce or what? Like, I don't know, man. Or does it all depend on the product?
Yeah, I mean, so if you're going to go in e-commerce, yeah, definitely it depends like on the products, but start small, right? Don't spend your whole life savings on an order, right? Like start small, do some small production runs. And if you're selling a food product, many founders start making it themselves, like in their kitchen. So like that Poppy example, right? They were starting in their kitchen.
Yeah.
They were making in their kitchen for a while, and then obviously once they, scale, then they had to expand. So it's like, if you can do it's like in a more cost-effective way, make it yourself. Or even like if you're, ordering apparel, there are many suppliers that might, start with like a smaller order size if they believe in you, right? If you can say, hey, listen, like I have this following, have these customers, like what's possible,
right?
Because like many people place these massive orders for $10,000-$20,000, and that's a lot of money without knowing like if it's going to be good, if it's going to sell, right? And even then, you can go on your site and launch like a pre-order campaign or a Kickstarter, right? That's going to help you build that momentum and you get that validation of your product.
Dang.
Right? So there's certain ways that you can do it without like spending a bunch of money and it's like investing in a certain product, which is not going to actually sell.
Right. Well said, clearly depicted. Now, other than knowing your product, okay, like having your value add or what makes you different, okay, and also knowing your audience, who's buying it and why, okay, what problem are you solving? Is there anything that we're missing that somebody would want to have down pat before they make the call to a company like yourself?
Yeah,
I know you touched upon the website.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, website content, product USP, I think for sure. Like I said, I mean, you would at least want to probably have $5,000 a month to invest because that's, just super important.
Yeah.
But, besides that, I mean, like that's pretty much it, right? Yeah. So it's not really that complex. But once again, it's understanding your numbers, right? Looking at your profitability. Because if your product sells for $10, that's never going to work with us, right? Because you're probably going to spend at least that much to acquire that customer.
Sure.
So your lifetime value, maybe if it's super high, maybe yes. But understand, okay, how do you push your customer to spend at least $30, $40 on order, right? So it actually makes sense. Because, it's going to cost you, especially now in 2025 for like a meta ad, at least $10. Sometimes it's even higher, 20 or more, right? So
per lead or per ad to run it?
Per sale.
Per sale. Okay.
To acquire that customer, right?
Sure.
To actually like sell your product, right? So especially early on, it's going to be higher. Once you figure out that product market fit, it's going to be less over time. But even then, like, okay, $10 for a product, it's way too cheap, right? Build a bundle, have different SKUs, do minimum order quantity, so a bundle of 3 or 4 or 5. As an example, if you're selling it for $10, 3 for 25, right? Push people to spend more. Have a higher threshold for free shipping, for example, right? So your margins, your average order value is super important because, if you're selling your product for $7, that's just too cheap. Right?
Sure.
So it's pushing people to spend more money to make it profitable, and never offer free shipping unless it's like $40 or $50. Like, don't offer free shipping on every order. I see many people making that mistake because you're not going to make money. At $10 free shipping, it's going to cost you at least $5, maybe more, depending on how heavy your product is, right? So understanding like that part of it too, because shipping costs can be super high, and it's making sure that you're profitable on every single sale.
No, yeah, of course. And what about a service-based industry? Because I know we're talking a lot about products, right? Like a gadget, for example.
Right.
What about service-based industry?
Yeah, service-based is super different, right? So I feel like it's like for service, you're seeing more things on Google as opposed to Meta because it's more higher search intent.
Yeah.
Right. People are like, Meta is more for discovery, right? People are discovering new products or supplements or features, things like that. Yeah. No one's really like looking for a landscaping service on Meta.
Dang.
And it's like, from what I've seen from people in the space, they're not getting high quality leads on Meta, right? The higher quality leads are on Google. These people are searching, hey, landscaper near me.
Yeah.
Right. So make sure for that, focus on Google, focus on SEO, focus on your Google business profile. Get reviews from your customers because you're running ads to that profile.
Yeah.
And people are looking and saying, okay, like, what is your rating? Are you legit? Yeah. Right. So if you're going to say, so like if you're doing Google ads for like a landscaping business, make sure that you have your customers leave you some 5-star reviews first before engaging in Google ads, because you're not going to get as many sales. Okay, like this guy's fake. There's no reviews. Like, what's the deal here? Yeah. Right. So looking at that, but yeah, I mean, Google ads are the best. And I think the good thing about service, it's a very sticky industry. So once you convert a customer, they're going to be with you for a long time, right? So it's like, you might break even on that first sale, but try and push them to subscribe to your quarterly or monthly plan, right? Because that's the best. But yeah, you might not be as profitable on that first sale, but like focus on lifetime value. And yeah, because it's always like, focus like on your value proposition, have certain guarantees. Because I think it's like oftentimes on Google, what I see sometimes, it becomes this race to the bottom. So don't be in that position. Like the cheapest price is not the reason why somebody's going to go with you, right? It's really showing like that value, saying, hey, listen, here is why we're better, et cetera, how we work, like how thorough we are, or if you're doing pest control or landscaping, whatever service, like making people feel like that they know if they're going to work with you, it's going to be great. Yeah. It's going to be a great experience. That's what most people care about. And they don't care about saving $10. It's a very important service for them, right? They want to get rid of their pests. They want a nice lawn. They want these things done well, right? So don't worry about, being the cheapest product. And oftentimes I've seen if you even charge a bit more, that could be better. So you go, okay, wow, this is more. Here's why, that they're more thorough, et cetera. Yeah. That could also be something.
That's a great point. Do you do analysis on that type of thing by chance? Do you do the Google stuff, or you're focused strictly on Meta?
We do some Google, we do some service based. It's not a big focus, but we have done it.
Got it.
I'm knowledgeable about it as well, but it's very different than e-commerce, but it's very much intertwined for sure in terms of like strategy to understand like your customer. Same thing, profitability, value proposition. Having a super clean website, right? Showing your reviews, things like that are super important.
Let's take a quick moment to shout out the people making big moves in real estate, the elite residential group at Keller Williams Realty. With over $90 million in sales volume and more than 300 families helped, they're one of the top real estate teams in Central Texas for a reason. Whether you're buying, selling, or just figuring out your next step, they make the process simple and centered around your priorities.
Greg and his small team have been absolutely crushing the Austin real estate market, producing incredible numbers.
He is always responsive, he's always on point, he never misses anything.
I would highly recommend him for anybody looking to buy or sell in the Austin, Texas area.
Hit the link in the description to book your free consultation. And I noticed you touched upon the social media piece, right? A lot of folks here are using that to leverage their marketing efforts. What are some common misconceptions with social media, or what are some no-nos, or what are some essentials that you should be doing no matter what? I mean, like, let's tap into that for a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, post as much content as you can.
Really?
It's real. Yeah, but also understand the quality aspect of it, like like the value proposition. And I think what I've seen people do on places like TikTok is explaining your product, right, engaging with your customers, because people want to buy from people.
Yeah.
So if they know you, right, like for example, there was one guy actually here in Austin who was on our podcast some time ago. His name is Spencer Gilmore. He started this brand called Hair Rescue. So they have a really cool product for people that have had hair loss. It's actually a focus on men, right? And for him, like, he's very big on social media, and he answers questions for customers because, like, he built this product for himself. And people resonate with it. Okay, wow, like, this guy had hair loss, and he solved his own problem. And people have questions like about the ingredients. Why is it better? Why is it cleaner, right? And when you're engaging with your customers, especially like the best products where you can solve your own problem.
Yeah.
Right. So you can have those conversations with people. Okay, like they can put a face to a name. I know Spencer. I know his. Like, yeah. So it's like things like that are super valuable. Right. So if you can leverage your own self and your own personal brand, people like buying from people. Right. So that's the best thing. And I put out lots of content as well, explaining things about our services, things like that. And that way people kind of get to know me where maybe it's not a fit right now. Right. But it's like, okay, well, like in the future that they know like when they're ready, they can engage. So we try and give as much value as possible, tons and tons of value. People always reach out, can they hop on a call anytime, right? I try to give as much value and be there for people because I know it's not easy to be a founder, right? And there's so many challenges and I don't know everything, but, this is like my third company, right? So like, I understand sort of like, no-nos and things that you should do. So yeah.
What kind of system do you follow for your social media content?
So for X and LinkedIn, it's a very different strategy. We have somebody that helps us with that. Yeah. So it's very like textual focused, right? So it's very much focused on text. Those platforms are quite different. I think LinkedIn, photos have worked as well, but X, like what really goes viral is that textual content. On Instagram and TikTok, it's more so video
the
content.
reels.
Yeah, reels. So we're posting some of that. We're still kind of iterating, but yeah, just like posting clips from our show. Also just like, posting clips of like myself talking about different things and challenges. I mean, especially now in e-commerce, a big conversation. We're in April now, it's 2025 is tariffs, right? So people are dealing with that because many of them are sourcing products from China, from different countries. So talking about these things and trying to help founders and e-commerce founders, okay, how do you kind of navigate through those challenges?
Yeah. Wow. And how fast would you say this market is moving? Like as far as the different channels and what kind of things you need to implement as far as strategy and tactics. Is it ever changing, and is it fast paced or is it more moderately paced? Like how much does somebody need to stay up with the trends?
It's definitely important.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're seeing trends, and if you make content based on that trend, like I remember like Allison from Poppy, like the founder of Poppy, she was like always saying how she's always like, scrolling on TikTok, seeing the trends, and she sees something, she goes back to her team and tells her, we need to make this video right now, right? Because like a trend can last 24, 48 hours, right? So it's like making this video as soon as possible, so that way people can, because those things like, I mean, those trends happen like out of nowhere. Yeah. So I think that's one good example. Obviously, right? It's like if you're a founder, it can be hard especially if you're like a one-person team, it can be hard to be on top of those things. So just try your best to do as much content as possible. Like those trends are important. If you can leverage that, definitely go for it. But I mean, it takes lots of testing and iteration to see what's converting and what's not. But and even in like CPG, right? It's like there are certain products and certain brands that we've worked with that their focus is more like on retail, or their focus is more on food service, right? So it just depends on kind of like what you're targeting, what your product is, what your strategies. And I think also it's like people get way too distracted. Yeah. So start with one channel, with one strategy, and just triple down on that. Don't like dilute yourself and spend a bunch of time focusing, how do I grow on 5 channels at once? It's like definitely post on those channels. Like I believe in the Gary Vee sort of way that he talks about is posting like all those channels. Yeah. We don't necessarily like focus that much time on every single channel. Right. Focus more on one channel, and then from there you can focus more on like, hire people, build the system, add more channels. Right. And get that momentum going,
Exactly. So that's why you don't want to have nothing on those other channels.
Exactly.
Because somebody could go there, look you up, and if it's empty, it's not going to look good, because that's where people are looking these days.
Exactly. And momentum, I mean, that's super important. Yeah, exactly. That's like the biggest thing, where it's like if you're starting out, maybe start with like a few channels. When you're getting that momentum and traction, triple down on that channel.
Yeah. That's good, man. That's good. So based off of what you do for a living, what's something that that most people have no idea about? And I'm talking like working with Meta, man. What do you know? Like, I would be clueless about.
I mean, so Meta in today's time, their AI algorithm is crazy. Oh. So they're very good at telling and figuring out and finding customers for you, right? Oh. So working with Meta to find you customers, because I think people sometimes try to be smarter than Meta. It's not going to happen. Meta still has the best data, has the most users like in the world are using Meta platforms. Most people are using Meta every day, one of their platform, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. And that's like, I think most people, like more than 50% of the world's population. And the US is probably, it's like even higher, I think, like 70% are on there at least once a day or once a month. I forget like what the exact stat is. It's like a very high percentage of people. Yeah. So like working with Meta to find your customers, because at the end of the day, Meta wants to help you. They want you to get sales. They want you to spend money on their platform.
Yeah.
Right. So working with them and leveraging their tools to really find those customers and finding people who have a history of purchasing. Don't run ads for engagement, right? Or for brand. Yes, if you're a Pepsi or a massive billion-dollar company, you have that kind of budget, sure. Right, definitely spend money on it. But for a startup, any ad you do should be focused on actual sales and revenue.
Yeah.
That's the only metric that matters. Nothing else matters. You need to grow this business. All right, so brand and this and that. Yes, once again, once you're 2 billion, crazy amount, sure, go for it. But early on, even up to the $100 million marker, right? Yeah. Focus on revenue. That's what your focus should be.
Dang. So it's Monday morning. You wake up. You power up the computer. What are you doing?
So for me, my schedule, I'm pretty much on calls all day. Oh. I'm running all the sales for our team. So I have one partner in New York, Effie. So he's more in the operations and client success side of things. Eitan, his brother's working with us as well now, helping out with client success. And I have one partner, Qasim, who's based in Pakistan. So he's managing like our software developers. So if we have a call that's more technical, he'll be on the call as well. But typically, I'm pretty much taking tier sales, or I'm a big believer in partnerships too, because there are many people who do things that we don't do.
Sure.
Right. So it's like partnering with them, saying, hey, listen, like, I have like a friend of mine, Noah, who does TikTok. We'd never touch TikTok. So I sent all my TikTok people to him. Yeah. And then, we can partner and, Facebook people that he doesn't focus on will send to us, right? Things like that. So it's like those partnerships are super valuable because you have many people that do what you don't do. Or even if you compete in some areas, I don't believe in competition at all, because you might compete in some things, other things that you don't compete in, right? So it's like, getting to know people, partnering with people. And there are certain people who, even if you compete with them, they might not have the bandwidth. They might not want to take something on, right? So it's like building these relationships are super valuable, and that's what I'm focusing on all day.
So do you have your organizational chart? You got a couple of independent contractors, I'm sure, with you. You got employees as well.
Correct.
So you got a mix.
Yeah, everybody is pretty much a contractor.
Okay.
So it's like 3 of us partners.
Yep.
Me, Effie, Qasim. Qasim's in Pakistan. He runs our dev team.
Mm-hmm.
He has like his own agency, which most of their employees do work for Zing, but some of them don't, but just depends like on the project. So he's about like 40 engineers in his office.
Whoa.
And a few partners as well. Yeah. So for his company, so they're over in Pakistan. In the Philippines, we have about 10 people. So 8 marketers, and then we have 2 VAs. So, it's kind of like, and they're all contractors technically, but they're pretty much, I don't believe in like this part-time fractional work. They're all full-time because they're technically contractor, but they're full-time working for us 40 hours a week. Because if you hire people in this like fractional part-time way, we typically like will start that way as like a test, but the goal is to bring people on full-time so they can fully focus on your business. Because if they're doing a bunch of different jobs as freelancers, and it's just hard. The quality will go down. They'll say, oh, well, Bob's offering me this much, this person's paying this much, and they'll put your project on the back burner. So you don't want that, right? You want people that are fully dedicated to your company. So, these people are technically contractors, but they're full-time employees of Zing.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So walk me, day one of Zing, okay? Well, let's talk a little bit about your journey, okay? Was it just you?
No, so I started... My first company was an eBay store. Started that back in 2011.
What were you selling?
Autographs.
Okay, cool.
So I was just a hobby. I used to go to downtown Chicago. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs. I was just a collector. My friend was like, I was in high school. My friend's like, hey, dude, like, why do you need 5 signed cards of the same player? Like, you don't. Sell 4 and keep 1. Put them on eBay. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm a big collector. He's like, no, come on, like, you're spending all this time, this gas, all this money, like going downtown, it's like at least an hour one way from where I grew up to get to the city. Yeah. And he's like, what are you doing? Come on. I'm like, all right, fine. So I started selling it, built some traction. I was like an eBay power seller, had over 10,000 listings at the end. Like I would just like doing it all myself. The sales, marketing, packing orders. I mean, yeah, it goes a lot of work.
It's a lot.
And even in college, I remember like just sitting in class and I just couldn't really like focus or resonate with some of these college professors that have never run any business or teaching you about business. It's like these hypothetical scenarios. I was listing products on eBay during class.
Yeah.
So I'd go in the daytime, get autographs. I'd take like typically night class. I was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I went to school. And yeah, during class, I was just like listing stuff on eBay. So
wow, that's fun. Okay, and then eventually, when did you start MyZing?
So we started MyZing technically in like 2021, like unofficially. So after that, I had an idea for a mobile app called the Workout Pro. I was super into fitness. I was like, how do I connect personal trainers to clients? That was like my whole idea. I had lots of bad developers. I met somebody in Pakistan that was good.
Yeah.
He built my app for me and he's like, hey, why don't we try and get some clients together? And I was like, dude, like, what do you mean? Like, how's this going to work? Like, what do you have in mind? Right. And I was still working full time. And even like my eBay store, I was doing it all while I'm working full time, doing this stuff on the side. And he's like, well, let's go on Upwork. Right. And like, we're going to run your account. You won't do anything. And we're going to get you clients and get clients and work on your behalf.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, it sounds easy enough. So we got one client. CTO was actually based here in Austin. I was living in Dallas like at the time, and that company raised like $15 million.
Yeah.
So it kind of validated my mind that we were good because they really just liked our work and they could, work with us for like a year and a half, 2 years. Like they kept working with us. And I was like, okay, like we're good. Like I was not technical. I didn't know if our team was good or not. Like how am I supposed to know?
Sure.
And, but yeah, then afterwards, I was still working full time. We were building some momentum. And then in 2022, I was like, hey, let's start like an LLC officially, still like on the side. Then I was working as a consultant. So I was working for a company that was bought out by PwC and I had lost my job. And I was like, okay, well, I don't have a job now and I have this thing on the side. Let me try and do it full time and see what happens, because if I'm going to go full time into entrepreneurship, like there's no better time than right now.
Yep.
So that was 2 years ago. And yeah, I mean, ever since then, just been working full time on Zing and lots of ups and downs. I mean, it hasn't been like this, smooth.
Never is.
Yeah.
Never is.
But yeah, that's sort of exactly.
Dude. Wow. Dude, what a jam-packed podcast. Like the things that I learned in such a short amount of time, that's cool, man. You can tell you know your stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
Seriously. I mean, I can imagine the kind of research that you do in a weekly basis to know what's going on with this.
For sure.
I mean, class is in session, folks. Dan, how do people get a hold of you and to, they want to hire you or consult with you? How do they do it? What's the best way?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Dan Melnick or Dan P. Melnick everywhere on social media. You can even text me 817-874-2208. Feel free to text me. I'm always very responsive on there, but I'm all over social media. That's the best way.
Hit him up. Dan P. Melnick from Chicago, now living in Austin, just south of downtown over here, my neighbor. Dude, thanks for coming in today, man.
Thanks for having me.
This is fired up.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, my brain's buzzing. This is so good. Folks, you heard it here first in the Elite League podcast, where we take experts in their craft, talk about what they know that we don't know. My name's Greg Carlson, your host. If you liked it, please give us a 5-star review. Hit that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button. And until next time, everybody, you know what we say over here, Dan. Stay fired up.